Assalamu alaikum. Today we're going to start off with lecture number 18. But before we go ahead with lecture number 18, let's quickly recap what we did in the previous lecture. So we started off with pricing. So price is the amount of money charged for a product or a service. So you give value to the customer in terms of product, and the customer returns you back some value, which is the price he pays for the product. And amongst all the 4 P's that are there, price is the only element that brings revenue, that brings in the money rather than taking it away. Then we talked about setting prices, and we said there's price ceiling and then there is price floor. Price ceiling is a price level beyond which there would be no demand. So it is the maximum price that you can charge for a product. Above that, there would be no demand for your product. And price floor is a price which is based on your costs. So if you charge below the cost, that means you would not be able to recover what you have invested. So price floor would be the minimum price. So price ceiling is usually as per your customer expectation of value, and price floor is as per product cost. And in between them is the sort of economic condition that you're working in. It works on the sort of economic system that you're working in. So a lot of things affect the price as well. So in between those are the other internal and external considerations. Then we said there were 2 basic ways of pricing a product. You can go ahead with cost-based pricing, or you can go ahead with value-based pricing. The starting points for both the types of pricing are different. For cost-based pricing, you design a good product, and at the end you convince the customer that it's a good purchase. It is value for money. That's how cost-based pricing works. On the other hand, value-based pricing is completely opposite. You don't design the product in the very first phase. What you do is you assess customers' needs and values. That is the first step in value-based pricing. And you take it to designing a product that delivers the value that you want or the customer wants to have. So the starting points and ending points for both value-based and cost-based pricing are very different. Then in value-based pricing, we started good value pricing and value-added pricing. So good value pricing was where there was a right combination of quality and service at a fair price, right? So good combination of price and quality is maintained in good value pricing. You can have EDLPs. EDLP is the everyday low pricing. We talked about how Walmart practices EDLP. And then you can have frequent sales. That is high-low pricing. You keep the products at a high price and then have frequent sales on them. That is high-low pricing. And the second option is value-added pricing. What you do in value-added pricing, you do not reduce the price of the product, but add more value to it to convince the customer that the price you're charging is absolutely right for the value that the marketer is giving to the customer, right? So value addition is something that we do in value-added pricing. Then the complete opposite of value-based pricing is cost-based pricing. In cost-based pricing, you calculate the cost of making the product, and once you've calculated the cost, you add a markup to that cost, and that would be the price for the product. So cost-based pricing adds a standard markup to the cost of the product. Now when we talk about total cost, there are 2 elements to total cost. There's fixed cost and there's variable cost. Fixed cost is the cost that does not change with the number of units that you produce. So your rent would be the same, the salaries for executives would be the same no matter how many units you produce. However, the variable component of total cost is something that alters with the number of units that you produce. So that would be the raw material, the packaging of the product. And what would be average cost? Average cost is actually your per unit cost. So at each given level of output, what would be the cost of the product? That would be average cost. Then we talked about target profit pricing. What happens in target profit pricing? In target profit pricing, what you do is that you set a target for your profits, right? And for that, you calculate the break-even point. Once you've calculated the break-even point, then you go ahead and extrapolate. And then you calculate where can you achieve that particular target. And on that particular target, you are able to exactly pinpoint what quantity you can produce to get that target. So we did this graph. Here you can see that at 30 units, there was break-even. And after break-even, it is the break-even after which you start making profit. So here, this region is all profit region. Now here, where would the total cost, if let's say the target profit is $2 lakh, so where would that be when you minus 1,000 from 800, that would be 2 lakh, right? So the difference between here is 2 lakh. So at this particular, if you come down from here, that would be 50. The quantity needs to be 50 if you need to make 2 lakh profit. So that would be 50,000 units. Now let's start with lecture number 18. But before we start off with lecture number 18, there are two parts to lecture number 18, right? In the first half, there's only one slide that we're going to cover for the last chapter, and then we're going to head on to chapter number 11, that is pricing strategies. So this slide pertains to the previous chapter about pricing, right? So we did the different types of pricing and how do you do that. Now what other factors should you consider when pricing a product? So the first factor that you might want to consider when pricing a product is economic condition. What sort of economic condition are you going into, right? So if it's per capita income is extremely high, that means you could charge people higher price for a certain product. But if per capita income is low, then that means the people might not be able to afford a high priced product. So you need to price the product according to the economic situation in the country, whether the economy is in recession, whether it is growing, what's the GDP rate in an economy. So you need to see the overall economic condition when you are moving into an economy. Once you're done with that, then you see other environmental parties that are involved in business. So that means you need to see your suppliers, you need to see your resellers, you need to see your wholesalers, and you need to see their response when you change the price of the product, right? So if you change if you're working in a price elastic market where if you change the price or if you lower the price, the demand would go higher. That means for meeting that high demand, you need to do more production, right? If you do more production, that means you need more suppliers. If you need more suppliers, then you need to contact your supplier, right? So can the supplier manage that amount of raw material or not, right? So if you change the price, it has an impact on the supplier. So you need to see his response. If you increase the price, how would that affect the reseller? Would the product sell or not? Would he make profit or not? So you need to take into account the response of reseller, wholesaler, and all other parties that are involved within your environmental, within your immediate environment. Other than economic condition and environmental parties, another important factor that you need to consider is government. Now government in many cases tends to regulate prices of the products. There are many reasons for why would the government want to do that, but the government intervenes when it comes to pricing. For instance, in telecom sector, you cannot set the price beyond a certain level. So you can reduce the price, you know, at the level set by the PTA, that is the regulatory body. If you go beyond that, the PTA could, you know, punish you for that, for doing that, right? So the PTA, which is essentially a government organization, regulates the prices of the telecom sector. So the government also plays an important role when it comes to setting the prices of the product. Then there are social concerns as well that also affect the prices, right? So for instance, you know, for some reason the cigarette prices are reduced to a very low level, right? So maybe the cigarette pack was at rupees 150 and now it is available for rupees 25. That means there would be an increase in the consumption of cigarettes, which could cause social concern to many of us, right? So social concerns also affect the pricing of the product. So these are a few external factors that might affect the pricing of the product. Other than that, the market structure that you work in, for instance, in monopolistic competition, the way you price the product is extremely different from how you would price the product in pure competition, or how would you price the product in oligopoly, for instance. So your pricing also differs with the type of market structure that you're working in, what sort of market structure of your industry is. So with this, we've come to the end of chapter number 10. Now we're going to start off with chapter number 11, which is pricing strategies. Now in pricing strategies, we're going to see 4 types of basic strategies. The first strategy pertains to how you can price the new products. Then in the second step, we will see how product mix pricing strategies are done, and then how do you make the price adjustments and how do you do the price changes. Now let's get to the first part of this chapter, that is how do you price a new product. Now there are 2 very basic ways of pricing a new product. You can either go for price penetration or you could go for price skimming. That is market skimming pricing or market penetration pricing. So what is market skimming pricing? Market skimming pricing is a pricing technique whereby you set the prices at a high level and skim the profits off before the competition kicks in, right? So in market skimming, there's hardly any competition. You've made a product that nobody else makes, and there's no substitute as such available for your product. So you can charge as much as you want, right? So you charge a high price for your product and make a maximum profit before the innovation gets old and other competitors copy it, right? So before the substitutes come in, you try to charge as much price as much possible so that you can make maximum benefit out of your innovation, right? So market skimming pricing is a strategy for setting a high price for a new product to skim maximum revenues layer by layer from the segments willing to pay the high price. Now there are different things that you need to consider before you go for market skimming technique or skimming pricing. The first is the company make fewer but more profitable sales, right? So if the price is extremely high, that means the demand wouldn't be that high, right? That is law of demand, right? So price and demand are complete opposites. So if the price is high, that means demand is low. Now you need to ensure that even in this situation, you are making good profit, right? The second one is product quality and image must support the price. So you've priced the product at a very expensive level, and by the look of it, by the nature of it, the product is not of that great quality. the people would think it's a total rip-off and they would not pay the amount that you have set for the product, right? So the product should signify that it stands for that amount of money, or it is giving you that value, that the price that according to the price that you have set. So the value of the product and the price of the product should match in price skimming. Then buyers must want the product at that price, right? So if it's a very innovative product, nobody else makes the product like that, and the people or the buyers do not have a substitute to it, that means they would end up buying your product, right? So that is another condition that needs to be met. Then costs of producing the product in small volume should not cancel the advantage of higher prices. Now that in the first few steps we saw that the sales of the product wouldn't be that high. That means you would not be producing a lot of units. Yes? That means the per unit cost would be high because you're not producing at economies of scale, right? So if the per unit cost is high, you need to ensure that the price is such that it covers the cost and it generates a sizable amount of profit at the very same time as well. The last one is competitors should not be able to enter the market easily. If it's a very breakthrough product, it takes time for competitors to copy it before they enter into the market. So the innovation of the product would decide when would the competition come or kick in. Now take an example of market skimming pricing. Now when Sony introduced HD TV, initially in Japanese market, it was priced at $43,000. 3 years later, the HD TV was down to $6,000. The difference in price is huge. So initially they were able to skim the profit in the first 3 years for $48,000 a unit. So they made maximum profit in the first 3 years, and later when the competition kicked in, there were other substitutes available, they reduced the price to match the competition. The price was reduced to $6,000. So initially it was very expensive when there was no competition. When the competition came in, they reduced the price and brought it to a $6,000 level. So that is market skimming. Initially, when there was only Mobilink working in the Pakistani telecom market, mobile market, it was very expensive. The outgoing, incoming, both were charged from the customer. But when the competition came in, the prices we now see are extremely low. That is because of market skimming pricing. The next strategy is market penetration pricing. What happens in market penetration pricing? It is the complete opposite of market skimming. What would happen? You would set low prices. What would that result in? It would attract the customers. They would try out your product and then they may become your loyal customer. So market penetration pricing sets a low initial price in order to penetrate the market quickly and deeply to attract large number of buyers and to gain the market share. But when would marketing penetration pricing work? It would only work if your market is when we're having big competition. Okay. Anybody else? It would only work if you have a price elastic market, right? If changing price would have impact on demand, only then price penetration technique would work. If it's an inelastic market, that means reducing the price would have no effect on demand. So there's no point reducing the pricing. You need to see other options of increasing your sales. So what happens, what is most important thing that you need to consider when you're setting the price through price penetration technique is that the market needs to be price elastic. It should respond to the changes in price. The demand should change with the change in pricing. So that was the first and foremost thing that you need to see when setting the price through this particular technique. And then low prices must keep competition out of the market. So if you keep the prices low, you're able to sustain the competition, you're able to deal with the competition, or maybe keep the competition at bay if you're doing the market penetration pricing. Now Dell did it. Dell did it wonderfully. They introduced the products at a very low cost. They introduced customized laptops at a very low rate. How did they manage to do that? They used a direct channel. So they eliminated wholesalers, they eliminated resellers. You could place the order directly on their website and get the laptop. As a result of which, what happened? They reduced the prices tremendously, because there was no, there was no third party that they had to pay to, right? So if you include a third party, for instance, you add a wholesaler, add a retailer, they obviously would add some amount that would be their profit, right? So they eliminated all those parties, as a result of which they could offer the product at a very low cost. Another very good example for market penetration pricing is telecom companies in Pakistan, right? So every day you see new strategies coming up, reduced prices coming up, new offers coming up as a result of market penetration pricing. Another very good example given in your book is that of Bank Al-Falah credit cards. Now when Bank Al-Falah introduced its credit card at that particular time, the people who owned the credit cards were usually very rich people, a separate class, right? It was not available for everyone in the market. But what Bank Al-Falah realized at that point in time was that there's a huge market of people from middle class who could also utilize this service. So they introduced credit cards with no joining fee, no annual service charges. So as a result of which, many people acquired credit cards. And nowadays, Bank Al-Falah has the maximum credit card holders in Pakistani banking sector. Now let's talk about product mix pricing strategies. Now we're done with new product development strategies, pricing strategies. The first strategy was skimming, and the second was penetration. Skimming, in skimming you set the high price, and in penetration you set the low price to enter into the market. The next set of strategies is product mix pricing strategy. The first strategy that we're going to see is product line pricing. So most companies do not offer a single product. They usually offer product lines. And for each product line, you need to have a strategy to deal with that product line. So the different pricing strategies that you could adopt, keeping in mind your product mix. The first strategy is called the product line pricing. It takes into account the cost differences between the products in the line, customer evaluation of the features, and competitor prices. So you have, let's say you have a product line, there are 20 products in your product line, and each product in your product line is priced differently, keeping in mind that there may be cost difference in producing that product. The customer evaluation of the value that the product gives might be different, or the competitor prices could be different. Now this is a 475 gram pack of Unilever's tea, right? I took the prices from GoMart today, and Supreme was priced at rupees 330, and Lipton Yellow Label was priced at rupees 420. Now the amount of tea it has is the same, but the price is different, and they both come from the same company. One is priced at rupees 330 and the other one is priced at 420. What could be the reason of it? There could be cost difference. Yes, there might be cost difference. The blend of tea that they're using might be different for both the teas, right? So there could be a difference between the teas that both the brands have to offer. The second reason could be market segment, or the competitors of both the brands are different. So for instance, for Lipton, the competitor is Tipal, right? So Tipal and Lipton have the same prices if you go to the market. So for 100 tea bag pack, they both charge rupees 300, around 300, right? So the prices are pretty similar or almost the same for Tipal and Lipton because they are competitors. But Brook Bond Supreme and Lipton are not competitors, therefore they are priced differently. What could be the other reason? We studied three reasons. The first reason was cost. There might be cost difference. As we said, the blend of tea may be different. There may be, the competition may be different, so therefore the prices may be different. And customer evaluation of their features might be different. So you may see Lipton more positively than Supreme, right? So that might also result in difference in prices. So that is product line pricing. This is Unilever's product line for tea. And you see two brands from the same company priced differently. The second one is optional product pricing. Now optional product pricing takes into account optional accessory products along with the main product. So in the previous lectures we talked about how a stripped down version of the car and a fully loaded version of the car are priced differently. That is optional product pricing. Then you have refrigerators. They give you options if you want to have an ice maker or not. That could cost you even more money. You could have, what could be another example for optional product pricing? Can somebody give me an example for optional product pricing? Laptops are a very good example of optional product pricing. You can, put in more money, get better hard drive, get better RAM. That is optional product pricing. Anybody else?
Washing machine.
Washing machine?
AC.
The dryer? Okay.
AC.
Okay, ठीक है. But that is not optional product pricing, right? That's not really an add-on. That's a separate product. That's what I feel. Okay, cars. Anybody else? That's really not an accessory or option as such. Mobile phones? How? चलिए let's look into the next option, that is captive product pricing. Now what happens in captive product pricing? In captive product pricing involves products that must be used along with the main product, right? So you buy yourself a glucometer, right? So people who have diabetes, they need to have a glucometer to check their sugar levels every now and then. Now the machine along with the strips costs you around 3,000. We're talking about Accucheck, the most famous brand for glucometers, right? Costs you around 3,000. And the strips alone, the next time you need to fill in the buy the refillers, the strips alone cost you around 2,200 to 2,300. So the machine was almost 700-800. So that is captive product pricing. You sell the product initially at a reasonable rate, and the subsequent purchases are expensive. So when you buy the printer, they give you the cartridges along, but you have to buy the cartridges once you're done with the previous, the old cartridges. So the cartridges are extremely expensive, and you cannot use the printer without the cartridges. It's of no use. So that is captive product pricing. Same goes for razors. So sell the razor for 700-800 rupees, and their cartridges are extremely expensive when you go next time for replacement. That is again captive product pricing. Now, all the examples that we did were for products. What happens in services? The captive product pricing when it comes to services is called two-part pricing. In two-part pricing, the cost is, or the price is split into two. There's a fixed fee and then there's a variable fee. What happens in fixed fee? It is a flat rate that you charge, and variable is as per usage. So talking about PTCL here, there's a line rent that you have to pay whether you use your phone or not. And then the variable fee would be the amount of calls that you make. Sorry? Okay. So two-part pricing. Then concession stands in cinemas. What are concession stands? Concession stand is where you get popcorns from. Right? The next time you go, have a look what is the concession stand. So you go there, you buy, you're not allowed to take any eating item from outside. They check your pockets, right? So we're talking about concession stands here. When you go to watch a movie, they make sure that you're not carrying any eating item with you when you enter the cinema, because they want you to buy from the stands there. So you go buy yourself a pack of popcorns and a drink that is not more than maybe rupees 50, and you pay a whooping 350 or so. 700? Really? Where do you go? Cinepack? So that is two-part pricing, right? So you paid a fixed price for the ticket of the movie, and the variable price was the amount of popcorns you consumed, right? So that is two-part pricing. Then byproduct pricing. So when you make a product, there are many incidental products that are formed with the actual product that you do not intend to produce, but they are produced. Those are byproducts, right? So byproduct refers to products with little or no value produced as a result of making the main product, right? So for instance, a good example that I found on the internet was that of sugar. When you make refined sugar, one of the byproducts that results from making refined sugar is molasses. Now molasses, if a company produces refined sugar, they could waste the molasses, or they could use the molasses and do the byproduct pricing. How could the molasses be used? The different ways in which molasses could be used. There are two grades of molasses. The high grade is used for baking purposes. It is used to make candies and stuff, and it is also used in making rum, a type of alcohol. And the low grade is used to making animal feed. Now producer will seek little or no profit other than the cost to cover storage and delivery. So what marketers could do, or what the company could do, they could either give it to somebody for free and get rid of it, or they could process it themselves, make a product out of it as well. So what they want to do is they want to get rid of the byproduct, because dumping the byproduct itself costs you a lot of money. If it costs you a lot of money, that means it would be reflected in your price, right? So anything that costs you money is reflected in your price. So what companies do is they try to utilize their byproducts so that they do not have to include the dumping or the disposal of the byproduct price cost to the price of the product. So you want to get rid of the byproduct in such a way that it does not cost you more money, or it does not increase the price of the product. Then product bundle pricing. Now this is something that we see very frequently in fast food restaurants. You bundle a group of products together and then offer them at a very reduced rate. So here you can see, which burger is it? Big Mac?
Big Mac, man.
Big Mac? No, Big Mac does not have jalapenos in it. Here you can see there's jalapenos. Well, I don't know which burger it is, but apparently it's something coming from McDonald's because there's a red pack of chips. So coming back to the lecture, product bundle pricing. What you do in product bundle pricing, you make a bundle of different products and price them and offer them at a reduced rate. What is the benefit of doing this? Your sales increase. Your sales increase, right? You are able to sell both Coke, and fries along with the burger. 3 things at the same time, right? Which you might not have had been able to sell if you wouldn't have done this, right? So it is able to increase the sales of the product and make the product more appealing at the very same time as well. So this was all about product mix strategies. Let's see the third element, that is price adjustment strategy. How do you adjust the price of product? Now there are discounts and there's allowance pricing. What is a discount? 20% off. How many of you have studied Jeff Medora? Introduction to business.
Yes, ma'am.
What is discounting? Stop biting your nails. That's not a good habit. Talia. What is discount pricing? Discount pricing is whereby you reduce the price of the product, right? So discounting is a straight reduction in price on purchases during a stated period of time. That is discount. Now there are different types of discounts or price reductions that you can get. The first one is quantity discounts. So quantity discounts are when you buy in bulk, as a result of which the per unit price reduces. Right? That is why you would want to go to Nankari Bazaar and buy yourself groceries, because the per unit cost there is low, because it's a wholesale market, right? So when you buy in bulk, the price is reduced. That is quantity discounts. On the other hand, there are functional discounts or trade discounts. The other name for functional discounts is trade discounts. Now what happens in trade discounts? You give or you reduce the price of the product to your trade channel members. So for resellers, for wholesalers, you reduce the price of the product for, to sort of reward the reseller and the wholesaler who would perform certain function for you. So for instance, if the wholesaler is storing the product on your behalf, you would reduce the price of the product for that wholesaler in order to reward him for storing your product. If he is giving you marketing intelligence, you might want to reward him for that. You would make the price cut, right? If that person is doing some sort of promotions for you, that might also result in price cuts. So that is functional discount. On the other hand, there are seasonal discounts. What are seasonal discounts? Usually what happens is during different seasons you have different demands, right? So for instance, okay, quiet. So for instance, the demand for fans is extremely low in winters, right? So they could reduce their price so as to encourage the the resellers to purchase the product from the company at a reduced price and store it for the summers, right? So to ensure that their sales go steady during the off season, they reduce the price of the product. So what seasonal discounts do is they try to, streamline or make your sales steady throughout the year, regardless of the season, right? So that's the idea of seasonal discounts. Then you have cash discounts. A deduction granted to buyers for paying their bills within a specified period of time. So you pay the bills on by the specified period of time, and you get a discount that is cash discount. Now there's a term written 2 by 10 net 30. What is this? What happens in this? This shows that if you make the payment in 10 days, you'll get a 2% off or reduction in the price of the product. So if the price was rupees 10 or rupees 100, let's say if the product was priced at rupees 100 and you're able to pay full rupees 100 within 10 days, you would be charged rupees 2%, not 20%. Okay? Rupees 98 rather than 100. That is, and what would be net 30 then? What would be net 30? That you have to pay the full price within 30 days, right? So within 30 days you have to make rupees 100 payment, and if you pay within the first 10 days, the reward is rupees 2 off. That is cash discount. Did everybody get it? Yeah? Now let's talk about allowances. What is allowance? Okay. Allowance is the promotional money paid by the manufacturer to the retailer in return for an agreement to feature the manufactured product in some way. So it is the promotional amount that you give to the retailer or wholesaler for performing a certain promotional function for you. One type of allowance is called trade allowance. Now, trade allowance is an allowance given to the reseller for turning in an old item. So for instance, this is the current scheme of Master Celeste. Or they do it every Ramzan. What they do is, if you take your old Master Celeste, give them your old Master Celeste, you can purchase the new product with 20% off. So if the mattress is 35,000, 20% off, what would be the price of the product? Can somebody calculate? An average Master Celeste mattress is rupees 35,000? 28,000? 28,000, 20% off. How much would that be? 22,000. So from 28,000 we came down to 22,000. That is the replacement scheme currently going on for Master Celeste. That is trade-in allowances. So what would the reseller do with the old mattresses that he collects? He would give them back to the company, and as a result of that old mattresses being given to the company, he would get trade allowance. Okay, that's the benefit of giving the old things to the reseller, that's to the manufacturer. Then there are promotional allowances at the very same time as well. So what is promotional allowance? Promotional allowance are the payments or price reductions to reward dealer for participating in advertising and sales promotion. So it is very frequent that wholesaler retailers are engaged in promotional activities for the firms, right? They would put banners, they would have displays for certain products right? So this is very common that we see that resellers and wholesalers participate in promotional activities for the firm. What benefit do they get from this is promotional allowance first, and secondly increase in the sales at the very same time as well. So that is discount and allowances. This is a price adjustment strategy. Now another price adjustment strategy is called segmented pricing. What happens in segmented pricing is used when a company sells a product at two or more prices, even though the differences is not based on cost, right? So they would charge different prices for the same product, right? That means the cost difference is not there, but the price difference is there. We're doing segmented pricing. So segmented pricing is used when a company sells a product at two or more price levels for the same product. So the cost of the product is not different. Now the different type of segmented pricing. The first type is called customer segment pricing. Now what happens in customer segment pricing? There are different customers and therefore they pay different prices. So for instance, if you go to the museums, the children fee is separate, the old citizen fee is separate, and the normal citizen fee is separate. That means the product is the same, it is the same museum, but the price is different with respect to the customer. You go to PCL, you show them your student card, and they would charge you a different price for a certain package. They would give you student package, right? So student package would have all the features of a normal package, but you would get them at a discounted rate. That is again what? Customer segment pricing. So this was customer segment pricing. What happens in customer segment pricing? With varying type of customer, the price changes, right? Then the second one is product form pricing. Now what happens is, it is FORM. Spellings are wrong. Product form pricing. Now what happens in product form pricing? Different versions of the product are priced differently, but not according to differences in their cost. So as per today, Nestle Pure Life charges 1.5 liter is for rupees 50. So the 1.5 liter denomination of Nestle Pure Life is for rupees 50, and 19 liters Nestle Pure Life denomination is for 170. Calculate how much it costs for 1 liter. Can somebody calculate for both the denominations? 33. And this should be around 12, I believe. 8.95. Okay. 3.3. So per liter cost for Nestle Pure Life 1.5 liter denomination is 33 rupees. And for 19 liter, the same water. There's no difference in water, but the price changes to 8 or 9, right? So that is what? That is product form pricing, right? So the cost hasn't changed, but the price difference is significant, resulting from different versions of the product. So in one version, the per liter price is 33 rupees, and the other version, the per liter price is around 9 rupees, right? Now let's get to the location pricing. Now company also charges different prices based on location. So for instance, you would graduate inshallah very soon, inshallah, and let's say you decide to do masters, right? And you decide to do masters from Britain, right? You've been very lucky, you've been admitted in, let's say, University of London. For their master's program, they charge you around 20,000 pounds to their international students, right? 20,000 pounds for their international student. Do you know how much it costs a local to do the same? Around 4,000-5,000. So for the local student, the student with, you know, the red passport, it charges them 4,000 to 5,000 pounds for the same degree, and you would end up paying 20,000 pounds for the same degree. So based on your location, you were charged a higher price for the same product. That is location pricing. Then time pricing. A firm varies its prices by the season, the month, the day, and even the hour. So prices change by the hour. That is true for airline industry. So at what time you book your ticket, the price would vary. So if you book the ticket half an hour before the flight, that means the price would be extremely low. Because if they don't give you the ticket, that seat would go empty. So they want to get some money out of that seat. So the price would be extremely low at that point. If you buy a ticket off season, again prices would be low. But if you buy the ticket somewhere, you know, mid-December or, you know, for an international travel, the prices would be extremely high because of Christmas, right? So the price changes with time. Any questions so far? Any question? Now, when can segmentation pricing be effective? When can you do this sort of pricing? When the market, you know, market must be segmentable, right? You're able to segment the market properly. So for instance, you could separate the student from the domestic consumer, you know, those sort of segmentations. Then segments must show different degrees of demands, right? So there needs to be different degree of demand with each particular segment. That is again true for any segmentation. Then watching the market cannot exceed the extra revenue obtained from the price difference, and the segmentation must be legal, right? So you cannot do illegal segmentation. Okay. So with this, we've come to the end of today's lecture.